Okay, great. So what I'm going to do is I'm basically going to repeat what I did this morning, but in slow motion and with more detail, because I think there's it's good to give a kind of headline overview, but I'm going to try and give some more detail so that people can start to think properly about how might we be able to access some of these opportunities and how might that work within our theme. So I'm going to talk about that for a bit, and then I think, depending on how many people there are here and who we represent, we can probably just go into some groups, possibly by theme. We'll do a kind of head count at that point and have a think about how some of the priorities that we're already talking about and that we've heard about already might lend themselves to some of these opportunities. So as a sort of a bit of a primer to think about what might be appropriate projects that you could use capacity building resources for when the calls are open. Right, I need a clicker. So I think what I'll do is I'll go through it all, and then I'll take questions, because most, that's probably useful, and then we'll go into groups. Okay? So you've heard from different themes and, different presentations, and you might have been in, sort of discussion groups around those themes. So you should have a good idea now of what the kind of topics that we're going to be focusing on throughout this next phase of ARC are going to be. So everything that any project that you have in mind that could be supported by capacity building needs to link to one of those themes. Now, I think that's not too difficult, because there's a lot of themes and they're quite broad. So hopefully, if you are interested in something, you will be able to find a home for it in one of the themes. All of our projects that we support from the capacity building team, they have to include patient and public involvement. So they're just the same as all the other ARC projects in that respect. That's a key part of the projects that we do. And they also have to have that consideration of health inequalities as well. So they're the sort of principles that underpin everything. This is the website. I don't know whether anybody's looked at the website yet, but where this red circle is, this is going to be, at some future point, where our research capacity building opportunities are accessed. At the moment, it's not there, but I'm assured it will be quite soon. And we try and put a lot of information on these pages. We put the dates of the calls, we put things like our training dates, we have the form available to download for you to apply. So in time, there should be a full set of resources there on the website that you can access to help. I just want to give a little overview of the internships, which is what we're most famous for, I suppose, in our team, what we've done so far. So at the moment, we've supported around about, well, it's more than this now, but it's about 135 internships, I think, that we've supported over the past 5 years. And you can see from the graph that they're quite dominated by people from the health services. And the graph on the left is the professional backgrounds that people have come from. So we've redressed that a little bit more over the past couple of years because we've had social care specific funding, but we'd like to redress that even more. So we like our internships to be widely spread across sectors and professional backgrounds. So that's, something to bear in mind. So you don't have to be from any particular professional background. You can be from any role whatsoever, as long as you're working for one of the ARC member organisations. This is a lovely map that shows our current spread of organisations and where they are. So you can see that we are supporting projects across all these organisations across North West Coast. And you can see just from the sort of blue tinge of the map that it's quite NHS heavy. So again, we'd like to see more variety in that map and applications from different organisations. So these are our themes. We've heard about these already today. So everything has to fit into one of these themes. And what I'm going to do is talk a little bit more detail about some of the opportunities. Now, as Mark was just saying, PhD studentships, this is a lot of interest in this at the moment. We are at some point very soon going to ask people for suggestions for PhD projects over the next few weeks. And there will be around about 27 of these funded. And because of the length of the ARC funding and the length of a PhD, we'll recruit them in year 1 and year 2 because the students have to have time to finish. So they're funded with fees paid and a stipend, and each student would be hosted within a theme. Now, they're not spread evenly across the themes. It's going to be a competitive process. So those that are judged to be best quality, will be advertised and appointed to. So, they're not necessarily going to be distributed evenly. It's going to go on sort of merit. So that will be really soon that we'll announce that call, and we're looking probably in the autumn that we would want students to start. It might help people to look on our website, which is a little bit hidden in the archive at the moment, but we will bring this back to the fore. We've got information on all the PhD students that we've supported over the past 5 years, so it might help people to have a look at the subjects that they've looked at and the studies that they've done in terms of preparing something that's appropriate. So what I'll do is, are these slides being circulated, Mark?
Don't see why not.
Right, because I could add a link. The slides will be on the website. Right, okay. Yeah, okay, so so we can put a link in here that takes you to the archived website that would allow you to look at these projects. So hopefully that's useful. Internships, we are carrying on with the programs that we've already got. So quite a lot of you will be familiar with them. So there's the RACES project, which is the commentaries on the evidence summaries. We'll be supporting research projects or innovation projects. We had a call for those close yesterday, unfortunately, so you've missed that. That'll be an annual call, so there'll be another call actually in January next year, a bit earlier. And we are still supporting people to apply for NIHR fellowships. And we will have 45 of these opportunities over the next 5 years. That will vary depending on how many we fill at each call, but be 45 in total. So university staff can't apply for these, but staff from the workforce of all our member organisations can. And that will support people with £6,300 staffing backfill, and each project has £1,000 research costs attached to it. So I've just put a bit more detail about different opportunities. So in terms of the RACES project, there's a video that I've put a link to on here that people can look at, which talks you through what a RACES project looks like. So if you're thinking that might be appropriate, you can look at that video and it'll talk you through it. And essentially what people do is take a systematic review. They critically appraise that and write a sort of commentary on the findings, and they try and publish that commentary. So there's an example here of one of the commentaries that's been published in Evidence-Based Nursing, and also the poster presentation that the person did to go along with that. So there's a couple of nice outputs there. And the assumption is that people will do these projects and then take that learning back to their service to drive some sort of improvement. Research projects, let's say we've supported 130 of these. This is just an image of our recent poster presentation. So we have a showcase once a year where our interns present their projects, and this was a collection of this year's posters, which is fantastic. So people, hang on. So people basically pick a project that they want to do. We support them to do it. It takes them about 12 months. These projects, again, have to be related to a theme, but they're quite broad in terms of, how people want to collect data, what they're looking to find out. We've got a couple of little examples of where people have gone with these projects. So not last year, the year before, one of our interns from Langston, South Cumbria, from the early intervention service there, Chris, he did a study looking at the integration of mental health, some peer support services in early intervention services, and he went on to do a poster presentation and publish a paper which has attracted international attention and is also feeding into some future work. So these projects can sort of end up in all sorts of different places depending on, you know, what people are doing and what, you know, what the topic of interest is. So this other one here, Sean, from a couple of years ago, he's interested in what is it, smart pumps? Is that right? I don't know what a smart pump is, but it's about you know, sort of drug delivery systems and safety. And again, you know, he's published his work. He's applying for a pre-doctoral fellowship now. He has. He's submitted it, yeah. And it's been picked up nationally as an innovation. So again, you know, it's really great to see people start with these small projects and then take it further. So, so basically, you know, well, he's applied for that fellowship. We reckon about a third of the people that we support to apply for fellowships are successful. So with that scheme, people get the time bought out to allow them to spend that time preparing the application. Just having a look here. Unfortunately, with this setup, I can't see what slide is coming next, so it's a bit of a guess. But yeah, so these are titles of, you know, are they titles of? Oh, these are titles of fellowship applications that people have done. So, you know, again, we have all of this on the website. So if you're thinking about whether, you know, it's a suitable thing, you can look up the examples of ones that have gone before and see, you know, how that relates to what you want to do. And then we've got, so, you know, there are sort of our normal internship scheme. They're the ones that are carrying on for the next 5 years. We have some knowledge mobilisation internships that we're going to have 2 further calls for. These are a bit different because university staff can apply for them. So as long as you're working in partnership with a member organisation, you can apply for those. And they're more or less the same as the other, except you get £2,000 research costs with these. So there's a little bit more resources to use there. These are some that we've funded already. So there is no typical knowledge mobilisation project. There are a really, really broad range of topics and interests and methods and things like that. So it's also a bit of a tricky subject. You know, it's tricky to define. So people are often like, they don't really know what you mean by knowledge mobilisation. So, you know, we're always happy to discuss it with people and talk it through. But our general guiding principle is that if it fits into this knowledge to action framework somewhere, then it's a knowledge mobilisation project. So it might be about the very early stages of looking at evidence, or it might be about taking that evidence to populations that could benefit. But as long as it fits somewhere in that framework, then we're happy to support it. New opportunities. So yeah, so they're all things that we've had going on already. So we know what we're doing with them. We've got some new opportunities that are starting up this year. So we're going to have fellowships available. Now these are worth £14,000, and they would go to an individual to support that person to put a team together to write an external grant application. And they're open to anybody, so we would expect there to be a kind of combined team, I suppose, with some academic representation and some partner organisation representation. Again, they're very open in terms of how that might look, but they need to be linked to one of the themes, and we would expect them to be supporting the work of the research themes. So we're going to have a call for those this September, so there's still plenty of time to think about them, and then there'll be an annual call, but there'll be 10 awarded every year, which is quite a lot of investment in them. So again, it's worth starting to think about what they might look like just now. The resources that we provide as a team we'll be continuing with. So for people doing our research internships, we are doing in-person research methods training, which is accessible to anybody. You don't need any previous experience to do that. And we deliver that in person at our Preston campus at the University of Lancashire. We also offer a master's module in implementation science for service improvement. That's delivered online, and that runs, well, it just starts tomorrow actually. So it runs every year in the 3rd semester, and that's available for people to access through the various schemes. We will help people find academic supervision. So we tend to have a lot of contacts across the whole patch, really. So if you come to us with something, with an idea, we can help you find the right people to be on your team to do that. And then we offer general basic support from the research capacity building staff. So that includes things like a fortnightly drop-in for people that are on our internship scheme. We do information sessions every fortnight for people who might be interested in applying. So all that support carries on. In terms of new resources, we're going to start a mentorship scheme again very soon, so people can register to be part of that. We're expecting that the more senior academics that are people, for example, named in the bid will agree to be mentors, and anybody can apply from any of the partner organisations or universities to be assigned a mentor. And we'll also be supporting people with leadership development resources for research leadership. And again, that will be starting later this year, along with a researcher community of practice, which is a very open community of practice at the moment. Again, it will be for anybody that's interested in either partner organisations or universities, and it'll be a way of, be used to address things that are of interest to people, but also for people to disseminate the work that they're doing as part of the capacity building programme. So those will all be starting up, over the next few months. So in terms of engagement, I'm always aware that our offer is quite complicated and hard to take in one go. So we can come to your team meetings and explain things. We do this fortnightly Teams drop-in where you can just come and bring your idea and we'll talk it through with you. As I say, our website, when it finally appears in the right place, is very comprehensive. And we always try and put opportunities in things like the ARC newsletter, social media, that kind of thing, to flag it up when things are, are coming online. So, yes, I was going to say, I think that's everything. So hopefully that's a bit more detail about what's available. I think what I'll do is just ask if anybody's got any questions now that, it might be useful for other people to hear. I think not probably about specific projects, but more general questions. Anybody? Nobody from my team's allowed to ask any questions. No, is everybody quite happy with that as a... All right. Ula. All right, okay.
Thank you. On the master's module, is there a cost associated with that?
Yes, there is. It is. So it costs £1,000 to do the module. If you were doing it as part of an internship, which is what usually happens, that cost comes out of the internship. So, for example, our races interns tend to do that module, and it comes out of the internship budget. Our knowledge mobilisation interns might choose to do that module if it was useful to the work that they were doing, and again, it would come out of their research costs. But anyone can register to do that module as a CPD module, but obviously they will be charged. Okay.
Same question about the research capacity or research training, the 10 in-person days on campus.
Yeah,
what's the damage?
Well, it's provided free for the people that are enrolled on the internships. We have been known to sell empty spaces. One of the, it's a very pragmatic limit, but when we book rooms to deliver it, the room maybe holds 20 people as a classroom. If we have, 14 people registered on the course, we can offer those extra places. I think we charged £400. Scott, is that right? 600 was it? So we did offer for people to attend that course for that charge, yeah. So that is a possibility. Yeah. Thanks, Dan.
Thank you. These ARC Northwest Coast Fellowships to Developer grant applications sound really positive, and I guess who are you aiming those at to kind of apply for those fellowships?
Well, they're eligible for anybody, so anybody who's a member of staff in one of the partner organisations or a member of staff of one of the universities can apply for them. we wouldn't really expect applications from individuals. I suppose it would be somebody, putting together a team, to develop that grant application. They might not have all the members of that team. It might be that they've got part of the team, but they know they need perhaps some methodological support, and we would support them to find the right people to make up the team, I suppose. But it's quite open. Yeah, everything will be included in that total. So it would be people's time. It would be, if you were doing PPI work, for example, you would include the funding for the PPI activities. I'm trying to think what else is sort of what we commonly pay for. What else? I think that's like, I suppose there might be some training costs if, like, somebody in the team wanted to access some training or something like that. They'll very much be judged on their merits. They will be peer reviewed, so they'll go out to reviewers within ARC, who aren't involved in them. But yeah, there isn't sort of a specification that the costs need to be split in this particular proportion or anything. It would be whatever makes sense to that particular potential application.
The majority of the cost would be the primary applicant's time to complete the grant application.
Yeah, no, it will be. Anything else? No? Right, okay. So I would like us to go into groups to discuss a little bit more about what, whether there's things that people are thinking of that would fit these opportunities. Do we have people from each theme here? Do we know? I'm just wondering if we've got particular, or people with an interest in a particular theme, we could do it by theme. We weren't really sure who was going to be here and how that would work out. Like, for example, do we have people from or with an interest in women's health? So is there just two? Well, I think it would be beneficial for people to talk in themes, unless we've got somebody who's the only person representing a theme. So can we perhaps sort of put people on tables in themes, and then we'll see if anybody's on their own. We'll join them up with somebody else. So perhaps if women's health go on that table there, that's great. What about social care? Mark? Do you want to come to this table at the front here? Mark, could you move along there? To this table, yeah. Or actually, you can stay where you are, but people come to you. Well, this is where I have to try and remember all the theme names. Have we got long-term conditions? All right, lovely. Could that be the back table there? Anybody else for long-term conditions? Would you be able to... Try to think, where's them? You're right. What about workforce and systems resilience? Have we got anyone from there? Ooh, doesn't look like it. Public health and prevention. All right, lovely. And what? Right, okay. It really is. I think I've already forgotten the one. Was it public? What did I just say? Was that public health? Right, are there just two of you? Right, what about analog to digital? Anyone know what that means? Right, what else have I forgot? So who's not? What about here? Give me a theme. Evidence for impact, right, excellent. You can be evidence for impact on that table. Anyone else for there? No? What about over here? Are you just baffled? What would your theme be? Oh, you're going to social care, right, okay. Caroline, Warren? Social care. I did, but no, I don't think anybody was in it, so you might be on your own. If you can. Is there only work? Have we got anyone else for workforce? No. Oh, fantastic! Yes, that would. Yeah, that would work. Yeah, that would work. Yeah. Okay. So who hasn't? Who isn't in a theme now? Who is on their own? Lauren, are you just, you don't mind? Right, okay. And your colleagues are happy to stay there? That's evidence for impact. Okay. So what I want you to do is thinking about the things that I've just said about these different opportunities. If there is anything that you think that might relate to anything you've got in mind, and, just basically chat about that, really. See whether you can come up with, the germs of an idea. I'm not going to make you feed them all back. So, and then what we'll do is, hopefully, Scott and I will walk around and check that people don't have any questions. That's what we'll do. Okay, so you can start discussing now, please.
Hi everyone, can you hear me? Let me just, I don't know if we're supposed to just use this. Let me see. Can people turn their cameras on so I can see? I don't think we're going to get put into a breakout. I think we're just going to use this as our little place to meet and chat.
My camera doesn't work for some reason.
That's okay.
I can't see anything. But hi, I'm Katrin.
Hi, Katrin. So has anybody got anything they want to ask, any questions about? I'm not, or any ideas they wanted to pose? Any thoughts they had that might fit into their plans already? Potential studentship or potential intern ideas that fit with the themes?
Can I ask then? I guess so. The opportunities, I guess, to be involved with funding is through the internships or PhDs specifically. Is there anything else, or is that the kind of the two supported streams?
They're the two supportive streams, but within the internships, there are several streams for different pieces of work to do. So there's one called the races, like Catherine mentioned, which is around reviewing a small, like scoping review. One to look at a research or innovation project, and one if you wanted to put a fellowship together to buy out some of your time to do that. So they're all classed as internships and have different kind of dates. And open and close at different times.
Okay, cool. And then, so they're all kind of a bit more of like the developmental side of stuff, I suppose, right? And then a PhD would be obviously the usual kind of doctoral pathway. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Okay. And most of them are launching in September, it sounded like. Is that correct?
Well, she said one had just closed. I think that was the research or innovation project. I know that, yes, the next knowledge mobilization fellowship ones are supposed to open in about September. I'm not sure about the races, but sometimes they're quite staggered. So it's worth keeping an eye out on the web pages and in the newsletters, because I think they're throughout the year at different points.
Yeah. Okay. And then, sorry, just one last question. So how do I then connect with the people from the themes then? So I'm interested in like women's health, which is a new theme, my understanding is. So how do we link in with people to help develop applications?
Well, I think Shakila was on here, but she's disappeared. I think initially contact the lead of the theme and make sure that you're on their mailing list. Just express your interest in the theme and ask to be a part of the theme mailing lists. And they will host regular theme meetings. So I guess you want to be part of them, or you might want to pose an idea for something. Yeah.
And then, and that's on the website, which isn't quite ready. Is that correct?
I don't know, but I mean, Shaquila's member of the University of Liverpool, so you should be able to get her email address should be readily available. Any of the admin people from today's event will be able to put you in touch. Also, there are theme managers. I don't have a list of who's been attached to which theme yet,
Right.
but I think that they have been attached to themes. So I can't say for definite which theme manager is managing women's health, but there will be a theme manager, and they'll probably be the best port of call in the future.
Okay. Yeah. So I think so. What do you, okay, because it just seems I end up in a bit of a cycle. I think it's maybe because of the new website and
yes, it's very new. It's not complete
yeah.
yet.
So so the links aren't all that. Okay, I'll try and find people like that. Okay. All right. Thank you.
No worries. Anybody else? Anybody got any ideas for internships or PhD ideas? Anything that they want to talk about that might relate to a theme particular?
I do have a quick query, hopefully. I'm just trying to remember what the themes were from earlier. Stroke is one of them, isn't it?
Our lead for capacity building and knowledge mobilisation, Professor Dame Caroline Watkins, her specialist area is stroke. So although it's not a theme, it will fit in its own right. It will fit within the long-term conditions theme. And they did used to be a stroke round table in the ARC1. I don't know if something like that is going to exist in ARC2. Because it was a real topic of interest for lots of people. It may be managed within long-term conditions initially, though. So I would approach them. Stroke is definitely one of their priority areas. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's what it was. Sorry, it was on the survey and I couldn't remember sort of where it's sat. But actually, long-term conditions would be perfect. So I'm looking possibly at something to do with rehabilitation after stroke. So possibly fits quite nicely within those themes and
it definitely does. And I know Caroline is very interested in all of that and has a lot of research going on. So I'm sure she will link in with that theme too in those topic areas.
Fabulous, thank you.
Anybody else? Any questions? Any thoughts? Any ideas for internships? PhD studentships? Anything associated with the themes or any general questions you've got that I could help with, to be honest.
Sorry, another one from me. Aside from these ARCFESTs, which are sort of, was it three times a year, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was just wondering if sort of there are communities of practice that are hosted by the ARC as well, because I'm thinking that side of like the formalized programs, some sort of peer mentorship seems to be quite important for capacity building, especially if we've sort of got new staff to research and possibly in sort of groups where less sort of development is sort of, so amongst nurses, AHPs and sort of non-registered professionals. Do you have communities of practice sort of like that are more mentor and peer based?
I don't think there's something new in the ARC that I'm not sure about all the details around mentorship, but there is something that's been mentioned, so it might be worth investigating and having a little question of some of the staff, perhaps in the capacity building team initially, or the knowledge mobilisation team, who might have more information on that. I think there was something potentially similar in ARC1. Obviously, all of our processes are kind of starting from scratch again. So we're not, they're still in development for ARC2. So you could always pose ideas and suggestions. I think at this point in time, it's a good time to do that. So yeah, I would say, talk to the capacity building team, perhaps email them and ask those questions, especially if you think there's a need and something that could be, addressed by the capacity building team and the wider team. Yeah.
So capacity building is sort of a bit of a topic across a couple of a few NIHR sort of bodies that I've engaged with. So it does seem like there could be opportunities to sort of cut across organisational barriers that way and sort of genuinely put together a community that supports each other.
That would be really good, and because we're talking about inclusion. We've got our PPI teams. We're constantly talking about more community-based kind of approaches, but again, we're not really talking about that kind of communities of practice, and maybe that's something else that needs to be discussed, to try and cut, like you say, cut across barriers. So, we've been talking about it in terms of, how we engage with wider communities, but not necessarily how we engage with our membership. And I think that's quite important.
Yeah, especially when it comes to about sort of sharing best practice around around sort of things like PPI and just professional challenges across all of those sorts of spaces. It'd be nice to because we're a small organisation, we can't provide it all by ourselves, but also sort of take advantage of the powers of the different bodies within the system as well.
I think it sounds like a great idea. I think you should pose it. I mean, there may be something in the bid. It's not something I can think of, I can remember at the moment, but I think it's worth having that conversation. And it, I'm sure there would actually be an awful lot of people who will be quite keen to do, set something like that up. And it sounds to me like it would fit very much with plans. So yeah, I would have that conversation, and I will make a note of it as well to feedback.
Thank you. So it sounds like I've got some extra engagement with the ARC to do.
Yeah. Anybody else? Any other questions? Any other ideas for internships or other research? No, I don't know how long we're in these breakout rooms. And you've asked, Lisa, is the ARC website updated with the new themes? So have you seen the new website? I think it's not it's not ready yet.
I did have a little bit of a look at it earlier, so I just had a look at the under research. It does appear to have the themes under there, so part of it at least appears to be updated.
Yeah, it's very much a work in progress at the moment, but hopefully it will be a little bit more complete very soon. All right, we're supposed to be on here till 5. I'm not sure we necessarily have too many things to discuss until 5. I don't know if anybody wants to discuss anything else. See what we can. I don't think we're going to be asked to feed back anything in particular neither. By the sounds of it, I think it was just an opportunity to talk about ideas. But we're quite a small group by the looks of it. So has anybody got anything else? Because we can. Don't want to keep people online if there's nothing else to chat about. Any other capacity building ideas or questions that you might have? I do like that communities of practice, so I'll feed that back to Catherine. Catherine?
No, I think I just need to figure out how to get in contact with the right people, really.
Who are you trying to contact?
Just in terms of the groups and just engaging a bit more with ARC overall, I think. So, yeah, so I'll just kind of keep an eye on the website as that's getting updated and go from there, I suppose.
Yeah, kind of what research topics are you interested in?
Well, at the moment, we're doing a bit in terms of well-being in the perinatal period. So I do have, some people who want to do PhDs in the area, but we're also kind of thinking it might be a bit broader than that in terms of a wider project. So I'm based at Liverpool John Moores, but I'm also collaborating with Betsy Cadwaladr Health Board, so over in Wales. So I don't know how it necessarily would fit within ARC or not, but we should in some wars we would, yeah, and I guess and then it would be kind of Mersey Care, I guess, as a health board, and then hospitals, whatever it's called now, the three different ones, and also with just across over the border. So we're looking at perinatal well-being, so we're doing quite a bit around public involvement, and looking at intervention support within that context. So we were originally thinking of looking at something as a digital intervention.
On the other breakout room.
So we were thinking around it in terms of and looking at kind of positive psychology strategies, really, and looking at positive coping during pregnancy as a kind of preventative model to support that kind of perinatal phase, so kind of post-pregnancy, postpartum. And then a lot of the PPI work is really coming out that it's not about, it's more about having connections with other women, and that the burden is not on us as women to learn things, I suppose. And so there's a real kind of mix. And then over in the Welsh Health Board, they're starting up these kind of women's hubs. So there's space to work there, and they're really keen to work within a perinatal well-being framework and not necessarily within perinatal mental health, because of there's existing kind of mental health services within that context. So it's looking at people who probably don't qualify for perinatal mental health support. So because of that, I feel like it's bigger than a PhD. So it's a larger project, but keen to link in with people who are working in the area. So there might be some PhD projects within that, but there's also kind of, it feels like it obviously fits in the theme, but I'm not sure how it would then fit in terms of funding and things like, do you know what I mean? So,
I mean, I think it's quite interesting, and I guess it's whether sometimes pieces of work can be broken down into certain things. For example, if there was a very small basic piece of work on systematic review, if that needed to be, that could potentially be an internship that helps to pump prime, a larger grant application. Then a PhD could also be tagged onto a bigger grant application as well. I think I haven't done it myself. Well, we funded PhD students and then we've built upon that project for program grants. But I have always wondered about the success of a potential application where the PhD student is already funded, and then it looks like really good matched funding. When you want to put something like, something like, I don't know, an RFPB or something together.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you've got your studentship, and you're building on it with other pieces of work, but they complement each other, and I guess it's just making sure the timelines fit, etc. But I think NIHR do seem to like that kind of complementary work, where there's lots of links to different parts of the infrastructure, and where they can see the added value for money in a grant application. So I think it's worth thinking about things in that sense. I haven't done that, not for an RFPB or anything like that, but I think it's an interesting approach that might generate a better, more successful grant with that kind of support.
Yeah, no, that's helpful. That makes sense. Thank you. Yeah, that'd be good. And then as a side to this, we're working on, given that it doesn't look like there's many other questions, but we're doing quite a lot around PPIE, and we're working with Emmerich in developing resources with PPIE. So do you know who the PPIE, like the ARC theme lead is for that, for co-production and public?
Yes. So Caroline Swarbrick is our new PPIE lead. Selena Wallace is our PPIE manager. All researchers, including myself, throughout the ARC, all do an awful lot of public and patient involvement work. So there's lots of people. So yes, certainly, we've got great teams.
What was Caroline's surname again? Sorry,
Swarbrick. I'm trying to. That is Swarbrick, I think.
Oh, okay, lovely.
Lancaster,
Thank you.
Lancaster University. Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Brilliant. That's it. Yeah, that's all I've got. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thanks. Anybody else? Any other questions? Any ideas? Anything you might want to query about capacity building, research ideas, ARC in general? Oh, we've got new people who've joined. Anybody else got any questions about internship ideas, PhD ideas, or anything in general?